guys, welcome to the Masters of SaaS podcast, brought to you by Uproar Media, a growth marketing agency for SaaS specializing in paid media, content, and conversion rate optimization. I'll be your host, Todd Chambers. I have the absolute pleasure of chatting with really smart people from the SaaS industry. The goal is to extract as much value as possible. What are their strategies, their tactics, their failures, funny stories, key learnings? All of this can then be used to help you grow and scale your own SaaS business. In this episode, I speak with Lorena Morales, the VP of Marketing at Go Nimbly, a San Francisco-based revenue operations company with approximately 15 million ARR and 50 plus headcount. As always, we cover a lot of ground. Firstly, we discuss Lorena's struggle as a Mexican immigrant to make a successful life and career in the US. In her own words, she had pretty much zero chance of making it to Silicon Valley, but her stubbornness and persistence, among other things, made the difference. I wanted to lean into Lorena's marketing experience, so we touch on the role of speed and adaptability in marketing, being self-aware and how your personality type influences leadership and management, justifying spend on brand and the unmeasurable, and how to ensure as a manager you don't lose that executional sharpness. We wrap things up nicely on a personal note with the importance of sleep, protecting your own time, and Lorena's weird obsession with watches. It was a fun episode, and I hope you guys enjoy. Lorena, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Todd. It's such a pleasure to now be with you, and let's see what you can get out of me. Not a lot of people get a lot of information from this Mexican, but let's see how it goes.
I will definitely do my best. Well, if you don't mind, we can start off with your kind of background and your heritage. I believe you're currently based in the Bay Area, but that wasn't always the case. How did you kind of end up pursuing the American dream and ending up in the US, if that's the right way to put it?
Oh, the infamous American dream. Yeah, I am. As I said, I am Mexican. I was born and raised in Mexico City. My Mexico lindo querido. That was not always the case, as you said. I also lived in Argentina and a couple other places in Latin America before I actually came to the US. And the reason why I pursue coming here for graduate education was, I call it life. It was never in my plans. Actually, I was accepted to the University of Carnegie Mellon in Australia. And I am the youngest of three siblings, and I come from a very traditional family. So when my mother got the news, of course, she was super excited, but she, like this kind of mental game that your parents do, and like, I'm so happy for you, but she's crying at the same time because Australia, she knew she wouldn't be able to see me that often. I am very, very close to my mother. So that's a moment when I started to see other options. And soon enough, we came as a family to San Francisco in a trip, in a Christmas, actually, I remember very well. And Todd, when I was here, we were staying in one of the hotels at the top of one of the hills in downtown. And I remember telling to my father, like, I'm gonna live here. I don't know when, I don't know why, I don't know how, but I am gonna live in this city. I couldn't help it. San Francisco was love at first sight, and I don't even believe in those type of things, but that was the moment, that was the year, probably it was 2009, around those years. And my father told me, like, yeah, of course, let's go and have breakfast because I'm starving. And then when I came back to Mexico, I said there was this international business school that reached out to me after they knew I had other opportunities. Also, my other plan was to move to Paris, to the HEC. I just realized that it wasn't in downtown Paris, so my dream schooling experience was not going to be as dreamable. So I was like, you know what? No, I don't know. And this international school called Holt, they had a very international program as well, meaning that you could rotate every couple of months to cities like Rio de Janeiro, to Dubai, to like very exotic places. And I've always had a very exotic personality. So I said, you know what, this is a place. And one of their locations was precisely San Francisco. So guess what? I ended up applying. I had already my GMAT, my GRE, all the fun stuff that every single immigrant has to go through. And I applied. They gave me a scholarship, and I came here on 2012. And after being here, I realized that I didn't even wanna rotate in the program, because I understood that I needed to build a network, and that's something that was very hard for me as an introvert. So I sacrificed one thing for another, right? Like, you can't have everything in this life. So I stayed my entire program here in San Francisco to start to understand the companies, how to apply to a job in the US, how to even understand how to talk to people in the US. You don't submit the same applications here in the US than in Mexico. For God's sake, in Mexico, you even have your picture in your resume, which is kind of F up if you ask me. But understanding all those processes was super hard for me. And that's how I ended up pursuing the American dream. By education is the only way that I know how to thrive in life.
Yeah, and what did your chances look like? An immigrant coming from Mexico to Silicon Valley, what were kind of realistically your chances of making it and getting a VP of marketing type job in a company like Go Nimbly, which we'll get to soon?
Oh my God, I would say 0 to none. Yes, but I've never. Okay, here is the reality. Back in the 80s and 90s, Mexicans, we are very agile. We're an agile culture. We're going to find a way, and I can promise you that. The bad part of that is that all the immigrants that came to the US back in those years, they found a way, and it wasn't the right way of doing things. And with that, they put a stigma, and they created this, what I thought was a cliche of, like, the US thinks this concept of Mexicans, that every single Mexican that comes to the US is not educated. They are coming for the wrong reasons, and they are coming to steal something to the US citizens. When in reality, the new generations of Mexicans are very well educated people and very capable. And just in general, Mexico City right now, for example, is a hub for tech, which not a lot of people know. So that's when I say my chances were 0, because back in 2012, I heard people telling me, like, you know what, Lorena, the system in the US is one of the most penalized, and you're gonna have to spend probably 15 years of your life just getting a no, potentially. And you're gonna have to be depending on companies and on processes that are hurtful and that are gonna be a challenge. And they were not lying, Todd. Day one that I came here, there was not an open a pair of open arms waiting for me and saying, like, hey, welcome, Mexican. It was the opposite. The good thing is that with this school that I was mentioning, where I did my first master's degree, we were all in the same boat. We were all immigrants. We were all very international people, and that made me feel that I could have a chance if I worked hard enough. And that's what I did. I started to understand people the best way that I could, and people believed in me. So I don't think I never disappointed anyone that gave me an opportunity, and I worked my tail 3 to 5 times more than the usual American, if you have to say it like that. Yeah.
That leads nicely onto my next question, which is, were there any special characteristics or traits that you think you have, either from your Mexican upbringing, something from your family, or just something intrinsically in you? Or what was it about you that kind of managed to break out and actually make it and be the person you are today?
I think this is going to sound weird, but out of the three of us, my siblings and I am the one that has been very solitary since I'm very, very little. My family is like, if you have to know them, they like to spend a lot of time together. And now I have two beautiful nephews that I talk about in every single podcast just because I have to. and they love to stick together. And I was always very, very solitary, and it was easy for me to kind of detach in a certain level, and see, like, use visualization tools or psychology tools of like picturing what I want in my life and going after that. The second thing, I'm stubborn as hell. Like, I haven't known anyone as stubborn as I am, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. But on the good side of it, I always knew the path to staying in the US as not only as an immigrant but as a Mexican immigrant. And I literally, I write a lot, so I always live with notebooks. Like, here is the proof of that. All my life I've been doing journaling and like stuff like that. So I literally visualized things, and I wrote down the things that I needed to do in order to succeed. And I didn't check off the bullet point until I achieved that thing. And I kept a journal of my successes, because you know what, Todd, the reality is that after 10 years of uncertainty, and not only uncertainty but ambiguity, it's very tough for the brain to believe that it's time to give up, because you have better chances even in your home country, or even in Europe, or because that's true. I do have other opportunities in other places in the world, but I can't let go of San Francisco. I can't.
That's the almost like the stubbornness within you is stubborn that you will see this go through and you will persist no matter what. So it's kind of stubbornness backed with persistence is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yes. Yes, and like that curiosity, it's a combination of things, right? You're never a one quality thing. You're always like pieces of characteristics, or pieces of people, or pieces of moments. And my father, for example, is also this. I come from a successful family. Both my mother, my father, my grandparents were successful people, are successful people, both in the business and in their personal lives. I didn't. I grew up understanding success, and that's might sound a little arrogant, but that's all I knew when I was little, and the expectations were freaking high on me. And also that developed a chip in my mind that I put myself, that nobody else put it, of expectations of myself as well, that way high to the roof. And I've always seen that as a good thing.
Yeah, that's nice, and we can talk more about that as we go on with the interview. But just so everyone gets some context of your current position and your current role, maybe you can just explain Go Nimbly, your position within it, and then any kind of context into the company size, revenue, anything you're kind of comfortable sharing.
Sure. Well, Go Nimbly is not only the first one in the field, but it's the only company doing the executional work on revenue operations. What that means is that we sit on the operations teams of companies like Zendesk, Twilio, PagerDuty. We have helped some of them go to all the way through IPO. And it's been a really fun roller coaster. We were, before the pandemic hit, our forecasting was to hit 20 million ARR. That didn't happen, of course, but we are very close to 15, which is something that you don't see that often in a consultancy space. We have grown year over year 100%. We even opened our third office back in 2019, the end of 2019, our Chicago office. So today we still have that office. We have the New York office, our secondary home, let's say, and we have San Francisco, the headquarters.
Yeah. Okay. So I personally am not hugely experienced in revenue operations, and I was just doing my research for this podcast, and I'm just going to read this paragraph, and then maybe you can stress test and kind of expand upon it. Revenue operations is the alignment of sales, marketing, and customer success operations across the full customer lifecycle to drive growth through operational efficiency and keep all teams accountable to revenue. This holistic approach is designed to break down silos between departments. Do you think that's like an accurate depiction of, in your mind, of RevOps?
That's kind of our fancy definition, because probably you found it in one of our fancy sites. It is very accurate. Important keywords here: breaking down silos, success on operations, and the thing that is most important here is the customer life cycle. So in less words, it's what revenue operations does. Like when you put it to practice and you become an organization in the actual transformation to revenue operations instead of legacy operations, what happens is you align your entire GTM team and operations team to always look at revenue. And the thing is, you have to be customer obsessed. There's no other way to succeed at revenue operations. I have said this before. The days where there were companies product based are gone, and they are gone for good. Today, it's either customer based companies or what I like to call relationship based companies, because that's the way that through the methodology of revenue operations, you can start to identify revenue leakages through your funnel. And that's pretty much what it means. And the let's say the consequence of doing this effectively is that you are going to break silos in each of the departments that I have mentioned already.
Yeah. So you're not actually a software company. You're actually more of a, I'm not sure if an agency is the right way to depict it, but you're more of a human-driven, giving strategy and executional support led by humans as opposed to software. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Oh, I love the word human. Is my favorite word in English. Yes, we are very led human. Actually, humans are our product because we have the capacity to deploy entire teams or just single people in these companies in order to. It can be as tactical as it's needed, or as strategic as a company needs or wants. It can go both ways. Ideally, we have a mix between tactical work and strategic work, which has been a very interesting journey. And as of today, we are not a product company. I can't tell you more about that, but there's a very interesting 2021 for Go Nimbly.
Yeah, interesting. And why did you choose Go Nimbly? Was there something that stood out about the company, or?
Oh boy, Todd, that's a funny one. It's actually the first company that I get to choose in my career here in the US, because before that I was tied to a visa, and Go Nimbly is the first one that's not the case. I chose the industry first, so SaaS. Our primarily customers are SaaS and PaaS, and even though I had friends here and there that work like at Twilio or like at LinkedIn or like you always know people living I mean, if you live in the Bay Area, you are gonna know an engineer, yes or yes, in one of these companies. And even though I knew them and I heard of them, I never really got to see these companies inside. And what I mean by inside is how they function operationally, and like the things that made them or qualified them as being a hyper growth company. When I saw what Go Nimbly was doing, of course, I had zero idea of what was revenue operations. It's like someone told me to eat an entire new food, and I didn't even have the silverware to eat it, you know? But that has never been the problem for me, because if I believe in something, it's in learning and unlearning things. So I was not worried. But when I interviewed with them, their CEO is this very particular character. He happens to be my boss and my friend today, Jason Reichel. And when he interviewed me, he saw something on me with my background in branding and design thinking and all these things that not only I apply to my job, but I am genuinely passionate about. And he comes from the, like, he has a little bit of background in advertising as well, design. He's also a very kind of in the arts type type of guy. So I think we connected automatically. And then, of course, I knew our CSO, our CRO, our director of operations, and all of them are incredible people, like let alone the talent I knew it was there because this was new. It was a company that has been profitable since day one. The CEO was not after funding, so that for me was a relief. I've been working with CEOs all my life, and the difference between being with a CEO that is after funding and a CEO that number one believes in marketing, and second that it's involved in marketing, it's heaven and earth. So that was Jason. And when I saw that and it was a new thing, I'm telling you, when I'm curious about something, I need to let it consume me. Otherwise, I won't sleep. Well, I don't sleep that much anyways, but it's something that I need to pursue. So that's why I ended up with the crazy Jason Reichel, and it's been a little more than 2 years and a half running their marketing department as their VP of marketing. Yes.
Okay. And you were initially hired a VP of marketing. Do you mind giving some context to kind of the size of the team currently and what the scope of your role covers?
We are about 54 employees. I don't know the exact number because with the pandemic, like numbers kind of fluctuated a little bit. But I think that would be accurate to say. And the other question was, what was the other question?
Goodness me, I can't even remember. But I will ask you another question though. Funding, we're really good. Funding. A common thread I always hear from people actually on this show and actually speaking to some of our customers is when you have a company that's chasing funding, as you put it, the kind of the mindset is very different.
Yes.
Can you just touch on that? You said it was heaven and earth. Can you just talk on that a little bit?
I actually meant like heaven and hell, but sure, it can be heaven on earth if you are not pursuing funding. Because, okay, here's the difference. I've been working the last decade for almost exclusively for startups. And when you have the head of the entire management team or leadership team, however you want to call it, just focusing on like how to get more money and how to make the business stay afloat, it's really hard for marketing or the marketing leader to execute on the vision of that CEO, let's call him or her, because they are not available to you, and they it's not their job. They are almost out of the court, and that can be a positive thing if you are a little in later stages. I believe that if you are in series, for example, CEV all the way to IPO or after IPO, it shouldn't be the CEO job to be right there with marketing. But in the early stages, I think you do need someone that is focused in, okay, how are we going to sell this? And someone that understands the clients in the most humane way so they can work together, marketing and the CEO, or marketing and sales. Because otherwise you end up with the silos that we were talking about in a little while ago, where you say, you know what, I'm marketing, I'm going to have my own KPIs, and sales, you can go and do whatever you want and be loud and like be there in your corner, and that's how we're going to work. And ideally, that's not how you want to do things from the very beginning, because the truth is, what we've seen with companies that we have helped from very early stages, like Lattice, is that at the end, that pain that you are feeling internally on like, oh, Jesus Christ, sales is complaining to me about leads, or marketing is bickering about, hey, why are you not doing anything with the leads that are coming in? That bickering that you're feeling internally, guess who is feeling it as well? Your customer. And when your customer feels that friction, it's something that is really hard to change when you are in late stages. It's not impossible. Revenue operations is a solution, of course, But that's what I am telling you about the difference between when you have a CEO that it's involved in the day-to-day GTM strategy, or that it's involved in what we call that Go Nimbly, the revenue team, whereas a CEO that it's always talking, or like seeing venture capitalists, or like working in PowerPoint presentations, which by the way, I've also been with that CEO, and my job has changed dramatically over this last decade, where I've done everything from content to paid acquisition to like talking to BCs. I think I became a very well-rounded marketer, kind of the Jane of all trades. But yeah, it's huge. Like the feeling for the marketing leader, it's tremendously huge, because that's what, it's not a coincidence that the tenure of the CMO is the lowest in the C-level suite, and I think that has something to do with it.
No, that's really interesting. I actually didn't know that. It sounds like you've done many different roles and you've worn different hats over the years, and actually ties quite nicely into this. And if you don't mind, I just wanted to read you just this quote, which I'm sure you're familiar with, which is, "The only constant in life is change." So on that note, how important do you think speed and adaptability is in marketing?
I could even remove the word important. It is crucial. It is crucial if you want to be in the marketing world, because if you compare the functions in an organization, and if you look historically, and this doesn't come from me, like this come from really experts in the field, even from Forrester, well, series decisions now for Forrester, where marketing has been the department that has experienced the most change in the last, let's say, 2 decades than any other instance of the revenue team. And that needs a specific type of mentality or individual to run those teams, because you can only be effective or have impact to revenue if you understand that, for example, you start asking the right questions of like, okay, how many leads of our pipeline were actually close to our ICP? Those questions you couldn't even ask them yourself, what, like 10 years ago? And now, because all the automation that happened, we have more information than ever thought. And that's on the internal side. On the external side, now you have a customer that it's not only super high maintenance, which we should have been those customers from day one. Advertising was a lie back in the 60s, in the 70s. It was all about manipulating, and that for me felt wrong. Today, you need to do marketing that, I mean, it's a great time to be a marketer, if you ask me, because now not only we have the trust of the customer, because they can see everything. It's like they have this laser vision where they can see through the entire company, but especially marketing. Your customer is going to know if you're selling something that is not good for them or that is not a fit. And with that, what it happened is that marketing has to be like, once you have your qualified leads, and once you have the alignment with your sales team, and once you understand your CFO, and once you understand the stretch of your land and expand, that's the moment that you can kind of be a more strategic leader. But if you don't have those things, and if your systems, for example, are not connected, you're going to be the person that it's 60% of your time very tactical, very kind of making sure that those things happen. And the other 40%, you're going to be talking about like brand and like awareness in general, and things that are more high level, and that are, people would call them, more fun. For me, it's not about what is fun and what is not fun. For me, is what gives more impact to the business, and that might be a different thing in seed funding than in Series C or D.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we can just take a bit of a left turn and talk about managing a team. I'm sure you've built your own team, and your core function now is managing and getting the the best out of your team. Do you have any kind of key learnings or observations or advice that you would give to someone that was specifically looking to set up a marketing team?
Oh wow, this is one of my favorites, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I ended up managing teams by coincidence. I'm sorry, people, but yes, it was a coincidence. A really good coincidence that someone up there put in front of me, and I decided to take the opportunity. But honestly, this is gonna sound weird. The Lorena of 10 years ago didn't like people at all. Like I had really deep trust issues. I mean, a lot of Mexicans we do, honestly, but especially me. I'm telling you, all my life, I've been very extreme introverted. I find my energy in being by myself, in reading books, in learning. I'm a type 5 Enneagram. I'm an INTJ personality. Not that it matters, but there's some certain traits that apply to those people. And so when my first opportunity of managing a team arose, not only I needed a job, but I needed to say yes because an immigrant can't afford to lose a job. That's the
No.
truth. That's it. That's it. I can't be more transparent. So when it happened, I thought to myself, okay, the first thing that happened and that taught me a huge lesson is when you start managing, it means that automatically you stop being the doer. You don't do things anymore. Your job changes dramatically to being the person that is more coaching someone else, or that it's making sure that your people it's feeling good emotionally, or that your people are in the right positions, or that your people like the things that are way more people oriented than anything else. And at the very beginning I said like, oh my god, am I gonna be good at this? Because I don't like to be the psychiatrist of my friends. I don't, and they know that. Even though I end up being that person, I don't ask for it. It's not like come and tell me your entire life, because that's something that I enjoy. But what I do enjoy are meaningful conversations. And then I realized that I was very good at connecting with people on a deeper level. So today, 8, 9 years after that first experience, um, my team at Go Nimbly, it's one of the things that I am most proud of, because not only they didn't have the experience in revenue operations, nobody had the same thing when they hired me, because revenue operations wasn't a thing back in 2018. Um, Today, not only they are crazy effective at their job, but they are happy humans at their jobs. And they have told me that to my face, like, hey, you know what, this has been the best job that I've had, and I think you have something to do with that. So even though I have trouble calling myself a leader, I think I am very good at understanding my people, and that's a full-time job. And so my recommendation for someone is make sure that you want to be around people, that you want to be the person that makes sure that your team has slept at least 8 hours, that you want to be the person that is not doing things anymore. You're not gonna receive like a palm in, like a clap in the back, or no, what's the saying, a pack in the back, or whatever you say. That recognition is out of the door at that moment, because again, you are not gonna be fixing things. You're not gonna be, or at least not the tactical things that have a bigger impression in the company. You're gonna be kind of the back end person of the organization. But if you do it right, and if you like that sensation of like, I have to do with the potential of this person, and I get to see this person bloom to their entire full potential. For me, there's no better feeling. So just make sure that you understand what it takes to deal with people on the daily basis.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you were speaking, and correct me if I'm wrong, that maybe you're more of an introvert. How important is it to have self-awareness around kind of how you are as a person, your own personality traits, and then using that to lean into being a manager or a leader? Can you speak on that?
That's what I talk about every single day. The introspective work that it's needed. Not only, and this is not only in marketing, people. It's especially important also in sales, also in product. I think in every instance, if you are gonna be managing a team or managing a department, even if you don't manage team, I think the self awareness homework that you need to do every single day on yourself, it's primarily gonna be impacting how you present yourself at work. Because if you don't know, the first thing that you need to understand are the areas where you need to improve. And believing in honesty and believing in humility and believing just in the truth in general is going to set you apart from the other leaders. Because if you come to the table saying, hey, you know what? I am fantastic at doing these million things. The reality, at least in marketing, is that you're not going to find that unicorn that everyone wants. The super seasoned CMO that has taken a company to the $150 million ARR and they scaled in 1 year and a half. Well, yeah, but that was not only marketing. that was your entire team. And at least I don't know a single marketer that is very effective in all the areas and all the tools in the tool belt of a marketer. That's a myth. Like that person doesn't exist. What you need to make sure is that you are like, if you want to be in a leadership position in marketing, you need to understand three things and own them, or take responsibility of them, because ownership tends to have this meaning of like, nobody touches these that I own, and it's that shouldn't be the case. It's more around what are you responsible for. And I think there's three main things: insights on how the business is going, so you have to bring your analytical mind, understand if that's your weakness. For example, it's been a weakness of mine for a very long time, and my team at Go Nimbly is fantastic, helping me become a better marketer in that sense. Product, you need to understand what the hell you're selling, and you need to talk to your product team often, and even as often as with your customer if you can. And you need to breathe and live branding, understand what is brand and make it effective. With those three things, I think you're in a good path to become the head of marketing at X or Y company. And
Yeah.
so I think, yeah, that self-awareness of, hey, these are my areas where I'm gonna need help, and I'm being honest. And you know what, I am an immigrant, and or like English is not my first language. Don't expect from me to create the content, but I'm gonna freaking make sure that I bring a superstar. And for example, that's what I did at Go Nimbly. Even though I write a lot and I love to write, and I do a lot of thought leadership content out there, because it's in me to be a writer. I understood and I knew that I couldn't put creating that content on my hands at the very beginning when I started as a single marketer. So having that intuition and recognition of, these are my highs and these are my lows, and my lows can impact the business, but I'm going to work on those, that's hyper important.
Yeah, there's really, really good advice. I have a couple of follow-up questions. One of them was on branding, and I think we live in a world now, certainly in my world, where everybody wants to spend X and get Y returns. And you spoke about the importance of branding there. How do you kind of balance, or how do you justify marketing spend in areas that are kind of less easy to measure and attribute to specific marketing initiatives?
The golden question for every marketer. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so here's the thing, Todd. It's not a coincidence that there's new kind of metrics that the very sophisticated marketers in very sophisticated companies are looking at, that eventually become ROI. So, for example, the cost per outcome. That's a metric that not everyone is talking about. And what it means is, in your head, the cost of not only one strategy or one tactic, but the cost of, let's say, a campaign that it's gonna impact one of the areas of marketing. If you set a level on that and then you match it, that's when, and you attach an amount of dollars to that, that's when it becomes ROI. How do you measure branding? I think that's what you are also asking. A lot of people will tell you you can't, because it's one of those things that it's a qualitative metric instead of a quantitative metric. You can't measure feelings. But I have an answer. I am the type of marketer that believes that it can be measured. It absolutely can, because you see it. If in a conference you see that people are coming to you after, I don't know, 6 months, and because the speaker happened to be someone from your company, and you see people going to them, and you see people asking about, like, hey, what is this, or like, I had a question about X or Y, or you start seeing people recognizing your name more and more, you're not going to be able to pinpoint exactly what's the value of that. But for us, for example, at Go Nimbly, what I made sure to do was that one of the KPIs that I bring, or that I brought a long time ago, was amount of conversations happening. Because I do believe, as I was telling you, that the business should be relationship based. Probably they are not going to convert in the timeline that you are expecting. You shouldn't tie your ROI to the fiscal year ever, especially not in branding. But if you do know the cost per outcome, and then you are able to tie that to a value, that's when you measure branding. The other very easy way is measuring organic against paid. Why people try to complicate things that are not complicated? Like, if your organic traffic, it's the same or less than your paid acquisition, sweetie, you have a problem. If your organic traffic has been increasing over the last quarter, or over the last year, or over the campaign that you did in season Y, that gives you a pretty good standing point to start to measure branding, or how people understand brand awareness.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. And my other follow-up question, which is also kind of tied into some of the things you said, is around being a leader. And your main position, of course, is looking after the people in your team. And I always joke that I feel like a full-time therapist sometimes. But how do you keep that kind of executional sharpness, because things are changing so fast? How do you, as a VP of marketing, stay kind of low enough in the trenches to know what's going on, to taste things, to see where you should be allocating spend, but then also having that kind of top view where you're just kind of getting the best out of people? How do you balance those two things?
Oh, you're gonna make me think here. Actually, no, it's a fairly easy question to answer for me, because I have understood that delegating is one of the toughest parts for people that are escalating in the corporate ladder. They don't want to let go of things, and I've never been that kind of person. Actually, for me, I guess it's because, again, my personality, it's very in me to see the other person shine. And when that person is shining, it means that I'm not gonna have access to every single thing that is happening every single day. What I ask to my team is, if movement happens in some of the areas that you are working on, I need to know. But if you're in X or Y meeting, or if you need to talk to X or Y people in the organization, please go for it. Like, they don't need my authorization to execute. There's a difference between being kind of the eagle flying above everyone and making sure that everyone is, I'm telling you, first of all, happy humans, or as close as they can be to that. And secondly, that they are in the right positions to grow um, not only their craft, but you need people that can expand to other areas than their own specialization. So you ultimately become an eagle and you are just flying happily. I mean, I hope most of the times just making sure that your team is doing things the way they should. And what that means is trust. But people tend to think that trust comes in your contract or in your benefits packages. It's not. It's something that it needs to be gained every single day. And how you gain trust? By being accountable. If I tell my team, hey guys, I am traveling for a conference, but you can absolutely count on me, let's say, recording that video that you need from me. And then I deliver right on time, right when I said that I would do that thing. And I am consistent with being that person that they expect me to be. They're slowly gonna start to trust me as a professional. And then if I start peeling the onion and then letting them know, like, hey, you know what, guys, today I had a really tough conversation with my sister. I'm not gonna be available for the next 2 hours. It was hard for me, I'm telling you, because I'm not a I don't think people that have known me the past 15 years would describe me as a people person. Today probably people good, but that was a hard transition for me to open up my life like that. But if you expect people to come with their true honest personalities to work and do the best work that they can, because I believe that you can do your best work and actually enjoy it when you trust your leader and when you feel safe around that person. But it's a two-way street. I can't expect my people to tell me if they are sleeping 8 hours or if they are overworking if I don't do the same. So on my one-on-ones, the two questions that I always ask is how many hours of sleep you got this week and how many hours of work you got. At the pandemic, for example, some of my team, the answer was like, you know what, I work like around 30 hours. Todd, my answer was, congratulations. Does that relate to your sleep? If your sleep is higher, then I am super happy. Keep doing that. It's okay to expect less from you, and I am expecting less from you because we are trying to survive, everyone. But if you are telling me that you work less and then you slept less and those metrics, because they are metrics at the end, and those metrics keep decreasing, then we have a problem and we need to talk about it. So I think it's an entire way of doing things. It's not one ingredient to the pie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the sleep thing you mentioned a few times. Actually, I think when we started, you said that you don't get much sleep, and then you've mentioned sleep with people in your team a few times. It's a nice segue into maybe more personal questions. How much sleep do you get?
Okay, there's a difference between going to bed and sleeping. I I am actually under medication because my brain at night, it's almost impossible to stop. So I am very protective of my sleep. But when things happen, or you end up becoming kind of the caregiver if you are a good head of X or Y. And when people worry you, and then you have your own worries, and then you have your family, and then you have all these things going in your mind, it's very hard to actually sleep. But if you find a way to force it, and then protect it, the same thing with your time, you can get to amazing levels of everything. So my question to you is like, my answer to you is, I do sleep my 8 hours, but only because of the help of my therapist. Full transparency. Yes.
Yeah, right. I really, really appreciate the honesty. And for me, I sleep is it to me it seems like the one thing people speak about, stress and eating and exercising, but I'm not sure sleep really gets the attention that it needs. And for me
And
personally,
that is true.
I'm twice as productive if I get good sleep, and I'm also a huge protector of my sleep. I have this Aura tracking sleep tracking ring, and what you said, there's a difference between kind of being in bed and actually getting good quality sleep. So for me, if I get good quality sleep, I think all my good decisions and good work kind of stemmed from that. But It's really interesting you have that in the one-to-ones as well. That's the first question you ask.
I wanted to try the ring, honestly, Todd. We're gonna have a conversation after this about that, but
Yes.
I hate to feel things on my body when I am sleeping. So I can't sleep with masks. I can't sleep with rings or with my watch or with I can't. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the thing that made me not buy into the ring. But I've heard fantastic things about it.
Yeah, it's and maybe as well. How have you tried? I would assume to help with sleep, you've tried meditation or forms of meditation to help with that.
Yeah, at the very beginning, back in March, I think I underestimated it because I've always been skeptical of things that seem not very active for me, and the idea of calming my mind through going inside of your mind and through breathing honestly felt kind of stupid because I was like, wait a minute, breathing is something that your body does naturally. Like what is this? I need to run like I don't know 10 miles. I used to be a professional swimmer. I still swim. um, and those things seem to be way more effective. But thanks to my therapist was like, why are you being so hard on trying things if you've been that person all your life? Like every single thing that life has put in my way I have tried, and I didn't want to do it with meditation because I thought it was dumb. It was the dumbest thing ever. Like sit there and do nothing and just breathe. That was my first impression. Then a company that now they should be paying me for like talking about them every time that I can. It's called Core. It's a little gadget that when you meditate, it vibrates to it matches your breathing, and you feel the thing vibrating. So I realized that a person like me that it's very physical, I'm very aware of my body. I needed to connect my physical body with my emotions and with my breathing. So that connection that happened between my hands and literally focusing on my hands feeling something actually worked. And now it's been more than 6 months. I'm not gonna say I'm successful every single day. Sometimes I am the type of person that I can throw things at the wall, and I can get very frustrated with myself. But I've learned to be more compassionate towards my practice, and I usually do it when I can't move anymore, when I have swam and I have run and I have do the bike and I have do something that tires my physical body, so that my mind is a little more welcoming to the meditation practice. So for someone that has that problem, please give it a try. For me, it has done fantastic things, and I don't think I'm going to stop doing it anytime soon.
Yeah. Is there anything else aside from the sleep? And I'm not sure if that's exactly what you meant. It's really help your sleep. But has there been anything profound that you've noticed a difference in yourself since you've done meditation?
Yes, I think for me, when I was not sleeping, I was trying to like I now I understand from the experts in this that I was doing the exact wrong thing. So when I was not sleeping, like let's say at 4 a.m. and I would wake up with a problem, or they say, you got older because now you don't need an alarm because your own problems wake you at night. And it's absolutely true, people. As you get older, you don't need a freaking alarm because it's your own problems waking you up. So if I would wake up at 4, oh my God, Todd, instead of just recognizing like, hey, my brain doesn't want to sleep right now, okay, I'm gonna get out of my bed, I'm gonna go to the couch, and I'm gonna start reading, let's say. I could force myself and punish myself seeing the clock and saying like, oh my God, I have only like 3 hours until I have to start my day. Or like, oh my God, if I don't sleep in 12 minutes or 12.5, then this means that and that and that. And then you create this cycle where you
Yeah,
just become like
I do it
super
all the
anxious.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you're losing some type of like thing, which is true. Like the most valuable things that the human has in this life or in any other that exists is precisely your time and how you spend it. So your sleeping time should be as precious as your time with your significant other, with your dog, with your coworkers. So for me, when I was not sleeping, when I was supposed to be sleeping, was like I am wasting my time, and I don't waste my time. That's something that everyone knows about me. I don't waste a single second of my time. But now I'm telling you, thanks to meditation, I'm more compassionate. So it still happens, even if you are in medication or whatever. It's nothing is perfect, right? It still happens sometimes. So when it happens, I just wake up, pull myself out, even if it's cold, whatever it is. I stay away from my bed, and I do something that doesn't include any technological gadget. And I've even done yoga like at 3:30 a.m. and uh, and it
Wow.
helps. And it helps, yeah.
You spoke about time, and this will be my final question. I really appreciate your time. You said that time, you don't waste time, and time is the most precious resource we have. How do you protect your own time from things that are not really opportunities, but they're disguised as opportunities?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm a very weird human being. I've been obsessed about time since I recall. And my father is someone that really likes watches, like a physical watch. And I am the same. So I kind of developed this obsession for having a watches collection. And even though some of them, like you need to change the battery, or like they are so old that X or Y, and they don't tell you the right time in that moment, I've always have a watch in my wrist, simply because it's a constant reminder of like, this minute won't ever come back. So be careful who you're giving it to. And so from very early stages of my life, even when I was a teenager, my friends used to hate me because it was like, why on earth you couldn't go out on a Friday? And I was like, because I don't want to, because I have more important things to do, and there's only this Friday. And they were like, no, but there's next Friday, if you don't. And I was like, no, 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 next Friday, I don't know. Today, this Friday, I don't want to do it. And it was very easy for me to say no. Now, as an adult, I just crossed very recently the third decade. I am exactly the same, and that hasn't changed. Like, if I don't want to go to, and it's funny because the people that I work with, they know that when we go to conferences or something, and I don't want to do like a happy hour or something, I simply say, you know what, I'm not gonna be there. And if I say no, they know there's no way they can convince me. Like, not even with mezcal, not even with food. Like, there's no way. So I made a protector in my mind. So it's a little creature. Please don't laugh. And it has a
Sorry,
name.
too late.
And I knew you were gonna laugh, but it has a name, and it has a shape and everything. And that's the one protecting my time since I was very, very young. And I started to see before the pandemic, people could be out every single weekend. And I was like, and they would ask me, like, why do you like to stay in your house so much? And I would ask the opposite, like, what's so wrong in your house that you want to leave all the freaking time? Um, so yes, I created a protector. That's a short answer. Yep.
How many watches do you have? I'm really intrigued now.
Here in the US, I have around 25, close to 30.
25 watches. Wow. And they're all
Yeah.
like analog, the old school watches, or is it like a mix of digital as well?
It's a mix. Like, I mean, it's everyone things, because some of them are like really, yeah, quite like very special pieces. Some of them, they are just like, I mean, I love the design, and I need to have it. And so it's a lot about design, and like, if I like it, I'm gonna have it. And then some others have more emotional connections, on like my grandfather giving it to me, or like my father giving it to me on my birthdays, or like some stuff like that. Or I bought it to myself when I accomplished X or Y. Or so it's kind of a mix. But yeah, it's a collection that it's my obsession. I don't care about clothes, I don't care about bags, I don't care about shoes. I am not the normal woman, but I care about watches, yes or yes.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It was a really great interview. I appreciate you taking the time. And is there a place where people can reach you? Twitter, LinkedIn, email?
All of the above. My Twitter handle at Morales Lorena SF, my LinkedIn handle Morales Lorena, and my email, you can reach out to me at lorena.morales@gonimbly.com. And Todd, it has been a fantastic time with you today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lorena. Speak soon. See ya. Thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. If you want to get links to any of the resources we discussed in the interview, head over to upromedia.com/podcast. Until next time, take it easy.